Hey everybody, welcome to Assignment 4, Chapter 1, First Peoples and First Farmers, Most of History in a Single Chapter. Tonight you're going to be looking at reading pages 24 through 27 and answering questions 15 through 22. So, if you're ready for that assignment. I will, thanks. Definitions I'd like you to look for and highlight as you're reading is exploitation, which is the unfair treatment to benefit the self. And here is somebody exploiting drinkers of Mountain Dew. Subdue is to bring under control, also on page 27. And we're going to bring him under control right now and subdue. That's Farva from Super Troopers, by the way, just with a longer haircut. So it's not real. And lastly is upheaval, which is a violent, sudden change. It's also on page 27. And here is your violent, sudden change. Close enough. All right, so if you're ready, I will join you back on page 26, actually. I know that was the reading, but if you're listening to this, you can get some extra time in. Breakthroughs to agriculture. The chief feature of the long Paleolithic era and the first human process to operate on a global scale was the initial settlement of the earth. Then, beginning around 12,000 years ago, a second global pattern began to unfold. Agriculture. The term Neolithic, meaning New Stone Age revolution or agricultural revolution, refers to a deliberate cultivation of a particular plant as well as the taming and breeding of particular animals. Thus, a whole new way of life gradually replaced the earlier practices of gathering and hunting in most parts of the world. Although it took place over centuries and millennia, the coming of agriculture represented a genuinely revolutionary transformation of human life all across the planet and provided the foundation for almost everything that followed. Growing populations, settled villages, animal-borne diseases, horse-drawn chariot warfare, cities, states, empires, civilizations, writing, literature, and much more. So, question number 15, you don't have to do. 16, you don't have to do. 17, you do have to do. And it is, what was the chief feature of the long Paleolithic era? Stop and think and respond. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's the settlement of the earth, the initial settlement of the earth. All right, moving along, bottom of page 26. Among the most revolutionary aspects of the age of agriculture was a new relationship between humankind and other living things. For now, men and women were not simply using what they found in nature, but were actively changing nature as well. They were consciously directing the process of evolution. The actions of farmers in the Americas, for example, transformed corn from a plant with a cob of an inch or so to one measuring about 6 inches by 1500. Later efforts more than doubled that length. Farmers everywhere stamped the landscape with a human imprint in the form of fields with boundaries, terraced hillsides, irrigation ditches, and canals. Animals, too, were transformed as selective breeding produced sheep that grew more wool, cows that gave more milk, and chickens that laid more eggs than their wild counterparts. Question 18, you do not have to do. Question 19, we're doing. Describe the revolutionary transformation that occurred as a result of the Neolithic or agricultural revolution. Stop and think and respond. Yeah, that's exactly right. Men and women at the time weren't just using what they found in nature. They were trying to change it as well, and were changing it. Continuing along, page 27. This was domestication, the taming and the changing of nature for the benefit of humankind, but it created a new kind of mutual dependence. Many domesticated animals, or plants and animals, could no longer survive in the wild and relied on human action or protection to reproduce successfully. Similarly, human beings in the agricultural era lost the skill of their gathering and hunting ancestors, and in any event there were now too many people to live in that older fashion. As a consequence, farmers and herders became dependent on their domesticated plants and animals. From an outside point of view, it might well seem that corn and cows had tamed humans. using people to ensure their own survival and growth as a species as much as the other way around. Okay. Question 20. Why did the domestication create a new kind of mutual dependence? Stop and think and respond. Yeah, that's right. It's because these plants and animals could no longer survive on their own in the wild. They depended on humans to reproduce. Continuing on page 27. A further revolutionary aspect of the agricultural age is summed up in the term intensification. It means getting more for less, in this case more food and resources, far more, from a much smaller area of land than was possible with the gathering and hunting technology. More food meant more people. Growing populations, in turn, required an even greater need for the intensive exploitation, and highlight that word, exploitation, of the environment. And so was launched the continuing human effort to subdue, and highlight that word, subdue, the earth, and to have dominion over it, as the biblical story in Genesis recorded God's command to Adam and Eve. Common patterns. Perhaps the most extraordinary feature of the Neolithic or agricultural revolution was that it occurred separately and independently in many widely scattered parts of the world, the Fertile Crescent of Southwest Asia, several places in sub-Saharan Africa, China, New Guinea, Mesoamerica, the Andes, and eastern North America. Even more remarkably, all of this took place at roughly the same time, at least as measured by the 250,000-year span of human history on the planet, between 12 and 4,000 years ago. These facts have generated many questions with which historians have long struggled. Why was the agricultural revolution so late in the history of humankind? What was unique about the period after 10,000 BCE that many may have triggered or facilitated this vast upheaval? And highlight that word, upheaval. In what different ways did the agricultural revolution take shape in its various locations? How did it spread from its several points of origin to the rest of the earth? And what impact did it have on the making of human societies? Question 21. What was the most extraordinary feature of the agricultural or Neolithic revolution? Stop and think and respond. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's that it occurred far apart, separately, and independently in different parts of the world. Question number 22. Identify the locations where agriculture occurred independently. Stop and think and respond. Yeah, that's right. Southwest Asia, in Africa, China, New Guinea, Mesoamerica, South America, and North America. And that's everything, kiddos. So hopefully you did a great job on this tonight. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.